Here we go. Welcome. I have Kithio, Mwanzia.
That's right.
President of the Chamber of Commerce in Guelph.
Have you been practicing that for a long time?
No, only ever since you've been president. What is it now? I feel like it's actually been a while. What,
3 years.
3 years, crazy.
Yeah, it flies by, especially when you're in a place like Guelph.
Well, we've been really lucky to have you. It's been awesome to have you be part of the community.
Yeah.
Honored to have you on the show.
Gladly.
I am in a car. So we're going to take a drive and do our thing.
I also love the concept. This is such a great way to. I'm just a big storyteller. Sit by the campfire, just tell endless stories, right?
Yeah.
So the I'm in a car concept is a lot like that. You're just driving around and and chatting, and good stuff comes out of that. Sometimes it's not so good in terms of just its silliness, but
I've only had to edit one, so maybe this will be number 2. Let's see.
That's right. Which ones was it? Was it Chris Thiesen's?
I'm not going to say. Did you see the end of that one?
I did.
Okay, I didn't edit it.
Yeah, that's clearly not edited.
All right, cool. So, like most of these, or all of them, we do a little introduction.
Yes.
So I know a lot of people that are watching this or will watch this will know Kithio.
Right.
But not everybody will.
Right.
And not everybody knows kind of background, where you've come from,
Yes.
and how you got to be part of the chamber here in Guelph.
Yeah, well, I've been in chambers for a long time. This is my third chamber of commerce, and I started out on the public policy, advocacy, public relations side of the chamber world. I think that's one of the most important values that chambers can really offer communities is be community advocates to City Hall and the federal government and the provincial government, but also be their advocate in terms of looking at the future and saying here's the impact that might happen from 1, 2, 3 policy decision or government regulation, and that here is the impact, and government needs to be able to know what that impact is. So
yeah, it's huge. I think a lot of people don't even quite get all the work that kind of happens behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's hard work too, and you have to form relationships. You form relationships with people in government, but you're representing your members. You're representing businesses. So it's an interesting line to be able to walk and weave through, sort of being a translator, right? People in government don't necessarily understand the language of business, and equally at times, right? Business doesn't necessarily understand the language of government.
Sure.
Right? For a business, quick is tomorrow. For government, quick is maybe
sorry about that.
4 days from now, right? Or sorry, about 4 days from now would be 4 days from now would be super quick.
Yeah.
For government.
Yeah, lightning quick.
For government, it's 6 months from now, right? Is quick. So really being able to break that down and I don't believe that there's any ill will or malintent, or when government actors are coming up with new policy, they're just doing it because they believe it's the best thing that they can do. They haven't considered the full scope, and I've always considered it my responsibility to let them know what the impact of their decisions is going to be. So
that's going to segue nicely into a conversation a little bit later.
Absolutely.
But maybe you just break down a quick little piece of where you were before you came to Guelph, and then what you're up to now.
Sure. I was in Niagara. I worked for the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce before I came to Guelph. I was the interim CEO. And so I was a policy coordinator in St. Catharines Thorold. I was director of policy there. I was director of policy at the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, interim CEO, and then as Guelph was doing its search for a new CEO, I'm drawn to communities more than anything. So
right.
I was very drawn to Guelph, and I obviously believe in chambers of commerce. I've spent enough time in them.
Yeah.
And I think that the Chamber of Commerce is able to do good in a community that's doing great, right? So as Guelph is doing their executive search, I decided to participate in it and was lucky enough to be selected. So
we're lucky enough to have you.
And now I'm now here, right?
Yeah, that's great. So as president of the Guelph Chamber of Commerce, right, what kind of things are on your priority list?
Well, priority list right now is just businesses are being sort of hit from all ends, right? There's there's a federal tax proposal. There's labor regulations that are on the brink of changing provincially. Just on all sides, businesses are being hit, and we're saying that it's not like there isn't value to the proposals that are being brought forward. So, is there value to changing the workplace to be able to be updated to today's standards. Sure, there's value to looking at that,
Absolutely.
looking at the type of worker that exists now and how they should be able to work in the workplace. But to have some of these rules come into place as of January the 1st of 2018, when they were announced in June of 2017, no company has 30% extra value just lying around that they're going to be able to extract. And the same thing goes with the federal tax proposals, where there was a real clear disconnect that as these were being proposed, that they didn't understand how businesses treat things like passive income, how businesses say, hey, when it rains for a business, it pours. A couple of lost contracts, some kind of significant business interruption, and you need to be able to extract from those investments to pay your 30 employees. You won't take a salary as a business owner, but you owe it to your team to be able to pay them. They have families, they have obligations, and so you need to be able to use your passive income to be able to do those type of things. So, the fact that did not factor into some of the thinking surprised me, and we made a point of making it known, right? We had a roundtable with our MP, Lloyd Longfield, my predecessor. So it's not like he doesn't know a thing or two about the business community. And we really stressed the opportunity that they weren't looking at it the way that it needed to be looked at. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that we've been able to make a significant case. Our advocacy has been really strong. I was in New Brunswick with the finance minister, spoke at our conference out there, and we're going to spend some time in Ottawa. The Canadian Chamber is doing amazing work with its campaign, hashtag Protect Growth, and we're really looking forward to being able to see a change. Again, I don't think that there was any malice. I just think it was a disconnect from understanding how businesses function, how small businesses function. I'm lucky that I get to tour factories and farms all in a suit. I get to tour factories.
And a nice suit to boot.
Thank you. I get to tour factories and farms and know business people and know about their models and know about their challenges. So I can speak much more quickly on what it is that they do with things like passive income.
Yeah, no, it's cool, and I think it's really a representation of the value of what a Chamber of Commerce really is. And I mentioned it a little bit before we started the interview, that a lot of people know chambers for the connections and the learning opportunities and networking, but don't necessarily understand the value of the advocacy that happens behind the scenes because it's not a front-facing activity. So to just bring some context like that is great.
Yeah.
So to switch the flow up a little bit.
Okay.
You mentioned the idea that you came to Guelph as the new CEO.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of kind of interesting opportunities and challenges that come along with adopting a team, and having a new person at the helm.
Right.
So 3 years ago, when you took the position, what kind of things did you experience, and what have you learned through the last couple of years when it comes to leading a team and specifically entering a new team?
Right. Well, there's numerous factors right here. I was, was one of the youngest CEOs in the country, chamber CEOs in the country, and so
I think that's the first time you've actually ever admitted that you're youth.
Well, yeah, I was named at 29, and so
which is amazing,
which is wonderful, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and so that comes with all kinds of things that you do need to consider. You need to be able to think about how your decision making is going to be shaped by that as being a reality. How your decision making is shaped as you being an outsider. I didn't grow up here in Guelph, but know chambers and know how chamber operations are able to function.
Right.
So the most important thing was team dynamic, and how do you build the right team, and how do you shepherd a new vision through a team. But you have two teams, because you have your board of directors that I report to, and you have your internal team that you work with every single day, and then you have your wider membership.
Your constituency membership. Yeah.
So being able to work effectively with all of those concentric circles was something that I had to be very dynamic about. So initially, when I had first started, I had very solid management principles that these are, this is the appropriate way to be able to manage an organization.
And an example?
So, for instance, that you need to have a very strict line-driven departmental system, which is a very traditional way to view management of operations.
Sure.
And that evolved to thinking about, no, this can actually be more of a collaborative approach to problem solving, establishing smaller teams that can tackle various issues. So if it's event X and we need to put a team around to do marketing, communications, outreach, targeted outreach, all of those things, we're able to do it and sort of scrub away some of the direct line departmental stuff that existed before. And then, to what extent are you drawing on your board of directors and their knowledge and everything that they know from a governance perspective without, ensuring that there's clear lines between governance and operations. So
right, which can be tricky.
Which is tricky.
For anybody
right?
that's been on a board would know that.
Which is tricky. And that's tricky whether you're the youngest CEO or the oldest CEO,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So being able to navigate all of that was just an incredible experience. But one of the fundamentals that never changed in all of that, management principles will change and continue to change and will continue to evolve for me and others.
Yeah.
But one of the things that never changed was sort of what I wanted for my team and what I wanted for the community. Those things remain sort of the unshakable principles by which everything was driven by. Well, what I wanted for my team, especially for the ones that were just emerging out of university, or the ones that had been there for a little bit and were thinking about what to do next, was having the Chamber be an incredible training ground for them, learning, growing, and then moving on to other things, being ambassadors of the Chamber in the community, being ambassadors of the Chamber in other parts of the
entrepreneurs,
being entrepreneurs. Yeah, you've seen with Chris.
Yeah,
that was very important to me. It was, for us to be able, for the job to be able to grow them was very important, and that remains an unshakable principle today.
Well, it's interesting because Chris used those words verbatim in the I Am in a Car we did about your leadership and his experience there. So I think it always rings true from my perspective when a team is echoing what a leader says is important, without prompt.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that's really cool and a testament to the leadership you brought to the table.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I mean, then the other side was what I hoped and what I wanted for the community. I arrived here. You have this incredible community that at times needs to be told that it is incredible, right? At times needs to say, "Listen, it's okay to trumpet that you're amazing," right? So just spending the time being able to really elevate the community, take the Guelph brand around the world and be bullish about it. There were some meetings that I was sitting in Ottawa where, I'm sitting down with, Barrick Gold and Toyota and other large companies. And we all introduced ourselves to the minister. And the minister says, "I know why everybody else is here, but I've got to know about Guelph. How did you find yourself in this meeting?" So, I talked about us going global and building that brand and taking great small and medium-sized companies in Guelph to giving them global opportunities. And, that's something that can happen here. So
that's cool.
Things that have never changed, principles, line departments, reporting lines, those change, evolve, those will be what they will be. But what remains unshakable, for me at least, has been, what my hope is for the team and the way that I'm motivated to work with them every day and bring out the best in them. And then, what my hope is for the community, and it's to give everything that I can to be able to bring the best out of a community that I think is great, that awesome. that I was drawn by. Right?
That's cool. So coming back to this traditional approach to the operational management, and then moving in more from a line-oriented focus into a collaborative small team approach. What was the catalyst for change? And the reason I'm asking is because I feel like there's a lot of people that are kind of still taking the traditional approach and with no fault of their own, but maybe they're experiencing some of the same issues. So what was the catalyst or a couple of situations that occurred that made you think, I got to shake this up, I got to make a change?
The catalyst was that we weren't able to, or at least I didn't feel like we were able to, we were living up to our full potential, right? And I think that when you're in a line format, you're not living up to your in this instance, I should say, living up to your full potential, because you don't have the space to be creative. You have the space to fall within your line, but you don't have the space to be creative. So it took some comfort level with myself, but it was just a matter of saying, okay, you know what? You bring on the right team, or you have the right team. Leverage their smarts, leverage their creativity. They have amazing ideas too. And it doesn't have to be so formulaic that it takes away from the creativity that they have. So, first and foremost is, bring on the right team. Spend lots of time having the team as you would like, right? Fusion Homes, which is an incredible company here in Guelph.
Yeah, big time.
Their onboarding process is
rigorous, to say the least.
Rigorous. And I said that to them, and they said it is, but there is payoff, right? Yeah. Because the technical things, and I've said this all the time, the technical things you can teach. I'll send you to a course to learn how to graphic design. Easy. The culture and fit is not something that you can teach. It's not a technical piece.
That's the truth.
So arriving at that point, that culture and fit over technical. If you're a brain surgeon, I think your technical skills really matter.
Yeah. Culture, fit, bedside manner might not be so important.
But in the work that we do, that we're a voluntary membership, so we have to constantly work to ensure we're offering a value proposition. Culture and fit are huge. So spending a lot of time on that and arriving at that, because I didn't start there, right? I had to arrive at that point where some of the fundamentals of managerial principles that you think are great, you've got to throw out the window and say, you know what, this is going to be people driven, this is going to be driven by the team, and awesome. You start establishing those collaborative working groups, right?
That's cool. I mean, we're going through the same thing, and not obviously the same type of roles, but similar type of work in terms of working with businesses and trying to broaden the scope of the professionals inside our organization, the team, so they can be more creative and have that space, instead of being like, this is my thing, I do this, then you do this, and then you do this. So that's really interesting that you brought that up. So when you were talking, though, about how you've changed it to more of a people-centric approach and a fit approach, can you give us a tip, one thing that you've done with it comes to how you recruit, how you onboard, whatever it is that gives some insight towards how someone might make that come to life for them? Because a lot of people talk about, fit first, skill second, but if you look at all the job postings, there's a lot of skill out there that's being looked for. So what have you done?
So our onboarding is problem solving, right? So it's I know that it's it may not be it has worked for us.
Whatever, so, the best ideas are typically simple.
So it's problem solving. So inevitably, with anything that we do, whether it's an event or something along those lines, if you're new, the onboarding for you is solve this problem and work with the team to be able to solve it.
Cool.
And what that does for us is that it allows us to be able to get out of the echo chamber, because new person X brings new ways of us solving that problem. And we might not have thought about that, because sometimes you get very much caught into doing the same things. We've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. For a 190-year-old organization, we've always done it that way. I hear a lot. So this allows for us to be able to say, new person X, get in there, offer your ideas. No idea is a bad one. Even if it's a bad one, we'll correct course. Even if it's a good one and it doesn't work out, we'll correct course. So what our onboarding has done has allowed us to be able to allow the new people to make mistakes.
Cool.
Because I think that's the thing that everybody's terrified by when they first go anywhere. Is I'm terrified of making mistakes, and
do it faster,
and do it quickly, and realize you made a mistake, and we'll move on quickly, and that's okay.
Oh, that's so great for you to hear from you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. So this is fantastic. I love. I've enjoyed being in a car.
Awesome. So, selfish promotion, any events coming up, anything you want people to know about? I'm going to publish this probably Monday.
Oh, great. So we've got the Biz Expo in Kitchener-Waterloo and at Bingerman's, and it's great to have partnership with those other chambers of commerce.
And it's a huge show, and that's actually the reason we got involved with the chamber 10 years ago, was so we could have a booth at the expo.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't called the expo then, but it is now still the same idea. And
Incredible.
if you haven't been to the Chamber Regional Business Expo, it's awesome.
It's well worth it. But then we're also doing something on November the 10th for Bill 148. We want businesses to be ready. We're going to advocate like crazy, but businesses should be ready for the pieces that are inevitably going to shake out of this new legislation. So that'll be on November the 10th, and we're doing that as a lunch and learn, and we've got a free lunch and learn during Small Business Week about knowing your energy. So all of that's coming up. We're trying to do some free events this year, allowing our small businesses in particular to be able to attend, small and medium-sized businesses to be able to attend. We introduced a new category for business to be able to have that solopreneur able to access the Chamber of Commerce, all the free networking events, shake a few hands, build your business,
awesome.
Do sort of traditional chamber stuff that you mentioned before.
Yeah, that's great.
And ultimately that, our advocacy portfolio is full, our event calendar is full, and, in chamber world, that's how you build a community. You're making all of those purposeful connections. You're strengthening your community by advocating on behalf of businesses, and I really feel like the team is doing exceptional work.
Yeah, you guys are on fire right now, honestly,
Thank you.
and all the feedback I get in the community right now is the chamber's rocking. So good.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
So what's the website?
Guelphchamber.com.
Guelphchamber.com. So if you want information on events, that kind of stuff, go check it out. Thanks for doing this, Kithio.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you guys.